to Product Design 101 with Elijah. I would like to welcome everybody once again to another amazing session where we'll be having Product Design 101 with Mr. Elijah. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining this amazing session. In this session, you're going to be learning a whole lot of things about digital product design. Now, the reason why we're having this session and we're bringing in our facilitator to facilitate this amazing session at Ace Creative Connect is so that members can understand the concept of what product design. Now, the idea is that what product design is becoming one of the most fast sought after industry in the creative and tech ecosystem. That is why it's very, very important for us to have a session like this. And the reason why we have a session like this is so that members in the community would be able to have introductory ideas about what product design it's all about. And not just that, you can know how to get started. So are you a tech professional who understand the concept of product design and you want to know more, or you are a creative professional who wants to transition into tech? Now, this is a place for you to be. Product Design 101, where our facilitator, Mr. Elijah, is going to break down step by step things that you need to know about the concept of what product design. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining once again. It's great to have you all here. We're waiting. This is a live session for those that are watching on YouTube. And one thing that we do in the community is that irrespective of the fact that it's being recorded and uploaded on YouTube, members of Ace Creative Community have an opportunity to join the live session. So do you want to be part of all these live sessions? All you just need to do is just join our community, our online community at www.acecreativeconnect.com. www.acecreativeconnect.com. That's how you can be a part of this amazing session. Now, Ace Creative Connect is one of the fastest growing online community where you join the creative and tech ecosystem, where you grow with other creative and tech professionals in the industry. We collaborate with other creative and tech professionals, and not just that, you grow with a family as you move from one level to another level in your creative journey. So thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of this amazing experience. It's good to have you. John, I can see you here. Thank you so much for joining. It's good to have you as part of this session. You're one of the most committed members that join our various sessions. So like I said, when this video started, this is a Product Design 101 where we teach about the concept of digital product designs, where product designers, whether a creative professional who wants to transition into product design, or you are a tech professional who knows about product design, but you want to move to the next phase in your knowledge of product design, this is what a place to be. We have an amazing facilitator, Mr. Elijah, who has joined us for this beautiful session. And I want to tell you that just like we've had other previous session, is a session you are going to have a great time. And like you all know, our sessions are usually always practical, 100% practical. So thank you so much for joining in, Mr. Elijah. It's good to have you. Now, I'm just going to do a brief introduction of our facilitator, Elijah. He is the CEO of Innovation Creed. Is a creative and tech agency that render creative and tech solutions for both local clients and abroad. And personally, I know Mr. Elijah as a passionate person when it comes to UI, UX, front-end design. You understand what I'm saying right now? And he's also very passionate about product design. Now, he's a man of many colors who is versatile in various aspects as a graphic artist, you understand, and a web designer and a product designer. So he understands not just the concept of product design, you understand the concept of what of branding. You understand? So it's great to have him here as he's going to be teaching us an end-to-end practical session on 101 in product design. And beyond that, Mr. Elijah is the facilitator in Ace Creative Academy. Ace Creative Academy is the academy that is powering this, and it's an academy where we train creative and tech professionals to be relevant in the and sought after in the creative and tech ecosystem. So you can visit www.acecreativeacademy.com to see our various wide range. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I guess it's the network from his side. Right. So, okay. Basically, I need to confirm. Should I start? Mr. Demola, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Demola. Okay. Okay, so basically, I guess is the network from his side, right? And welcome once again to Product Design 101. And trust is going to be a wonderful time. You know, it's going to be a wonderful time. Don't mind me, I'm kind of shy person, even in front of camera, even in front of camera, right? Okay, so disclaimer first. The disclaimer is that this is an absolute beginner's class. This is an absolute beginner's class. So if you're trying to transit from other career into product design, and of course, if you just coming into tech generally, right, this is the class for you. This is the class for you. Okay, Mr.
All right.
Demola,
yeah, Mr. Elijah, thank you so much. I don't know what happened to my connection. yeah, I was trying to call my wife to find out if my son has tampered with the internet. You know, kids. Probably he had gone to the internet to turn it off. All right, so great to have you. So, Mr. Elijah, before we start this session, I'm just going to ask you just one simple question. Are you getting me now? What are the things that you need to consider when it comes to what product design as a product design professional? Now, I know that product design can be used in various aspects of the industries, can be used in literally designing other products, like if you want to design the sneakers, product design is also used in interior decoration, interior decoration, set building. You understand, before a particular set is being built, the product designer comes to ensure that what he does a visual representation of how the set would be. But in this session, we're talking about what digital product designs. So what are the important things for those that join this session they need to know with respect to what, how to, you understand, approach product design the right way?
okay,
So that's my
thank you,
first
Mr.
question.
Demola.
Then I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Demola, for the question. Right, product design generally is a very wild field. It's a field that if you are just coming into tech, you can be confused at times. But basically, if you make up your mind to really become a product designer, these are the things you should just consider. Not tools-wise. I'm not talking about the tools you will use. I'm just talking about by the time you get your legs into the waters, what you should consider when you are designing the product is that your product should be desirable, right? There are kind of 5 principles that a lot of people, talk about, based on podcasts, based on articles. I've stumbled on these 5 points that I'm about to talk about here. I've stumbled on these 5 points, and the first one is desirability. Like, it must be desirable. Like a desirable product would be, a product that is very aesthetic in nature. That means you need to get your design board rolling if you really want to be a good product designer. And of course, any product you see out there, one of the things that makes a product sell is the aesthetics, is the beauty of the product, not just the functionality alone, right? It's until you start using the product before you start talking about the functionality. But initially, people tend to have encounter with the beauty, the aesthetics of your product. So your product should be desirable, you understand? It should be desirable by the time you get started as a product designer. The second thing is that your product must be usable. The usability, we cannot cut that short from being a product designer. You must be usable. Your end users should be able to understand your product, while going through it. And it's one of the reasons we advise almost everybody to always, when you're designing a product, if it's a product that is common, for example, a banking app, you should look at what other people have actually done before and make sure you're doing something that is close to what people are used to, because human psychology generally, they tends to flow with what they've seen, number of times. So your product should be usable. Design something relating to what they've been using before, so at least they'll be able to, learn on time. If you notice that in our generation now, hardly will you see a manual come with phone, or a phone comes with manual, right? Why? The essence is that a lot of people are now used to smartphones, and hardly will anybody wants to go through the manual to go through it. Remember the way back 2000 when when phone is just coming out, early 2000, when it's getting to around 2004, 2005, when smartphones start coming out, we see a lot of gigantic book inside our box, just for you to have, for you to have a glance of how to make use of it. But we are not seeing that again, right? Because all smartphones are usable, you understand? So basically, let your product be usable. The next one is the utility, right? A useful product will be purposeful and satisfy customers' needs. So they should be able to use it, to achieve what they want to achieve. So basically, what we do when we are doing product design, basically, is that we kind of set tasks. And we ask end users, in the process of testing, to try one or two tasks, and see how fast they can actually go through it. For example, if I need in a banking app, if I need to deposit my money, if that possibility is there, of course, for fintech apps, for you to deposit your money, let's say for PiggyVest or Cowrywise, clicking on the button to upload your your fund shouldn't be eating. The button for that should not be eating. And of course, the process of you trying to save your money should not be a hard process. So your product should be usable. Remember, the first one is that it must be desirable. People should desire to use your product. And of course, it must be usable. And of course, the utility part, the usefulness of your phone, it should satisfy the end users, the customers that are making use of it. And of course, the next one, which we usually, take consideration of as a product designer, is that it should be reliable. Reliability is one of the major things when it comes to your product design. Your product should be reliable, free from a very long flaw, right? Your users should not take forever to accomplish one thing in your product. And of course, the efficiency, we cannot take that away from the product, and the product should be efficient. And when we talk about efficiency, that is beyond the use of, that's beyond the scope of a product designer alone. And that's why you as a product designer need to have a relationship with developers. Because one of the mistakes I've seen in our generation, right, in product design generally, is we tend to do a lot of effigy, let me call it effigy, a lot of effigy. We want to put animations, we want to put a lot of action-based kind of a thing. And at the end, it's not achievable, right, for the developer. So, and if it's not achievable for the developer, or the developer just struggle to come up with the product in any way, it's going to, at the end, probably have effect on the server, where you see that the product is very slow to use, of course, and the performance might be very poor, you understand? So, and all of this boils down to a product designer. You need to design a product in such a way that it's going to be easier for developers to, implement. And of course, at the end user will be able to have a very efficient use of the application. I guess these 5 things, if you can keep them in mind, it's going to make you a very strong and good product designer. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so very much. So we can all see that we are in for it. And you get what I'm saying right now. So while Mr. Elijah shares the screen, I'm going to be reflecting or mentioning some of the things, highlights of what he said. One of the things that is very important for you to understand about product design is that it must be what reusable. Reusability is very important. Then it must be simple what to understand. That's also what very crucial and what very what sacrosanct. The simplicity of your products makes it what we call what reusable. So whenever you are trying to develop what a product design for your particular, an interface, a user's interface for a particular mobile app, plan to design a user's interface for a particular web app. You understand? It's important that it's very easy to use. So thank you so very much once again, Mr. Elijah. So I'm going to be handing the floor over to you. Right? Are you good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right.
So,
all right.
All right. Can we also my screen? So I'm going to say this again, a disclaimer, right? And the disclaimer is that this is an absolute beginner's class, right? But I'm going to want you to come from this angle, basically, which is even in a beginner's class, you can learn 1 or 2 things that you can implement even as a professional. It's one of the things I do. I still join some basic class, Why? Because there are different approach, to achieve one thing. So, but a disclaimer, basically, is a beginner's class, and don't expect an extraordinary wow thing. So at the end of this class, we're going to be playing around with 1 or 2 interfaces, right? We're going to design 1 or 2 interfaces in our Figma, and those interfaces, just basic stuff, but just want us to see 1 or 2 things on how we can, play around with our design, and of course, do 1 or 2 things as a beginner, right? So the content for my class today is, the definition. What is a product design, right? What's product design itself? Is product design the same as UI UX, right? And key tasks and responsibility of product designer. We have the important tools and skill for a product designer, what you should need to know as a product designer. And of course, I'm just going to talk briefly about the basics of design thinking. And of course, we're going to play around in our Figma. So these are the content, for my talk this evening, right? So let's move on to another thing before I proceed. So Mr. Demola, is it possible that the other people can actually talk in this class? I want it to be more of an interactive class. Is it possible?
Basically, once you want somebody to talk, the person asks the question, then we'll make the person the speaker.
Okay.
So that's how we can make it happen. Yes, please. If the person signifies via the chat, I will make the person a speaker.
Okay. All right. So yes, basically, I didn't share my screen. This evening. So I'm just going to be moving from my presentation to the class just to get feedbacks, right? I would have loved to ask a question here, but let me just proceed. Okay, so what is product design? Product design is the art and science of crafting solutions that looks good, function efficiently in the real world, right? So the key word there is that it must look good and it must be functional. It must look good and it must be functional, right? Because your end user are after the look. That's one of the things I lay emphasis on for product designers, for myself as a person, right? It must be good looking. It must be good looking. And that is why, as a product designer, the usage of your color, the alignment, you need to go to classes that helps you, understand those parts very well. And of course, you need to understand some tools that can help you combine colors together, because of course it must look good. The aesthetics must be there, because that's what is selling for your end users first. Then the functionality, of course. So the second thing is the functionality, right? And These two things is what makes your product stand out in the marketplace. Now, further definition that we have here is that product design is the creation of items, ensuring that they are functional. Again, the keyword functional, that they are functional, user-friendly, which is another part, user-friendly, and of course, aesthetically appealing. Must look good. It must look good. The use of your colors, the combination of fonts, the alignment, the balancing, of course, is a very good thing that you must, lay emphasis on, in your product. Now, it's the process of transforming an idea into a real usable product that caters to a specific need or solves a particular problem. So as a product designer, you need to understand what a product design is in itself before you say you want to pick up the field. I know there's a lot of confusion out there about UI, UX, and product design as a whole. We are going to talk about that. And the angle to my presentation this evening is that I'm not going to be doing definition for the UI, UX. I'm going to be doing more of what a UI designer actually does and what a UX designer, what they are capable of doing or what they should be doing, what you should do before you call yourself a UX designer, and what is it that you must do before you can call yourself a product designer, right? So if I'm to talk briefly about that, is let me just chip that in before I get there, is that a product designer must understand the business part of the whole thing. A product designer must understand the business part of the whole process. It's not just, oh, I know how to make research, because as a product designer, your research will not just be research with end users alone. Your research is going to expand to competitors analysis. You are going to be analyzing similar products, competitors out there. What is it that makes their product stand out? You need to analyze all of these things as a product designer. So I guess basically that a product designer is wearing a lot of art. You are putting on a lot of art, just to become a product designer. But the steps to becoming a product designer or to be very good at designing any product is they're part of my presentation, and I'm going to be showing us these processes. I, as a person, basically, I started way back as a graphic designer. Way back 2010, I started as a graphic designer. That was the first skills I ever get to learn, designing generally. Understand? Then I moved into front end, basically, and then I realized that at the end of everything, people still want to create a product, right? And I began to develop flair for product design, product management as well. But I'm still doing my product design, of course, and of course I'm going to be moving into product management very soon, because I understood over time. I've understood a lot of things, and I realized that okay, I can really supervise projects from its beginning to its end. Why? Because of my many arts, as an individual. So don't make it look weird if you are currently a graphic artist. Wow, you're having a wonderful beginning, as a product designer. You understand? So that aside, let's move to the next one. So product designer and UI UX design, UI UX and UI. That's UI, of course. Basically, UI is user interface. UX is user's experience. And of course, people that actually do that act of designing UI, we call them UI designer. And those who are in the area of user's experience, we call them user's experience designer. Then we have the product designer, in the umbrella, to both user interface and UX, because at this part, a product designer, as I said earlier on, should understand the business part of it, of the whole thing. You should understand the business part of the whole thing. So you are not just doing research about the users. You are not just doing research about the how good this product is going to look like. You are not just doing research about. You are not just doing your mood board. This part of things we do. You are not just gathering ideas of how beautiful this interface is going to look like. You are doing beyond that. You are having stakeholders meeting. You are having meeting, with users, and of course, you need to be able to talk about the visibility of them making money with that product, of course. Yeah. So UX designer, what are the function, the work of UX designer? right? A user experience designer prioritizes the interaction between the users and the product, ensuring its structure is intuitive, usable, and leaves a positive impression on the user. Right? The focus on navigation, ease, and the product overall user friendliness. So when you go to a particular product and you are able to, carry out your tasks on time and with so much efficiency, and you are able to achieve all you want to achieve in a short while, that's a very good work of a UX designer. The UX designer that actually work on that product, they've done their proper research on it and they make life easier for you. And most times when you see the work of a UX designer, it doesn't look appealing initially because sometimes, okay, let me make it this way. We have some people that specialize in UX. We have those who specialize in UX designers. We have those who specialize in it. And these are set of people that all they do is they sketch, they take their product to Fig Jam. There's what we call Fig Jam. We have Miro, and we have some other tools like that for your UX work, right? So what they do is they are not dealing with the aesthetics. They are dealing with the functionality. And that's why sometimes a UX designer can just draw a box and take you through the process of how this box can move from this interface to another interface seamlessly, without causing any problem. So a UX designer are really more particular about the users, how they feel. So you as a UX designer, you must have empathy. You must have empathy. You should be able to feel what the users are feeling. You should be able to put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, even to navigate from point A to point B on this product, how am I going to do it in such a way that it's going to be so easy? So, for example, if I'm the UX designer working on CowGearWise is a saving app it's a fintech app where you save your money. Now, as a UX designer, the question I ask myself is, how do I want to do it in such a way that if I'm to take this app and I want to save my money, what are the processes? What are the processes I need to take, to save the money in such a way that there won't be any issue at all? We are not talking about aesthetics now. You're just talking about processes you take, to save your money. And that boils down to what we call algorithms sometimes. And that's why you see that a UI designer, UX designer, product designer generally, you should have a close relationship with the product designer. Right? You should be able to also think the way they think. That's why our field is very wild, and that's why you see that a lot of people in our field at the end, after creating a lot of product for years, you end up becoming a product manager. Why? Because you understood the whole processes it takes, for a product to come to life. And of course, let me go back to what I was saying earlier. You need to have a close relationship with a product designer because the ways at which they develop things is using algorithm. Algorithm is step-by-step process, of you working on a particular stuff, right? And you as a UX designer, you should also be able to break down most of your work. Most times I'm always going around with my pencil. I have my jotter on my table, my notepad. I just sketch things out sometimes. And of course, I'm going to show you one of my sketch, which is what we are going to use to practice in our class today, right? And so when idea comes, right, I'm working on a product currently. It's a church. It's called Church Point, right? And it's going to be used to take attendance and some other stores. Don't let me just attendance and some other stores in just to ease the work of ushers and children department workers in a church, right? And I've been on this product for the past 3 weeks now, trying to master the whole process it takes, as a UX designer working on it. Also, I'm the product designer generally, so there's a lot of ideas going on in my head currently concerning the product. And one of the things I want to bring out is that when I'm at that phase where I'm working as a UX designer on that product, I think less of aesthetics. I don't think of the beauty. I don't think of colors yet. I don't think of how the font will be. All I think about is how do I arrange every features on the screen that will make life easier for those who are going to use it. So those are the questions you should ask yourself basically when you are designing, when you are sketching as a UX designer, right? Don't think about the color yet. Don't think about how beautiful it's going to be yet. Just think about, how do we navigate from point A to point B? You get now what we call point A to point B can be a string. For example, one of the tasks that is going to happen in the app is that you should be able to take attendance. Now, it's very easy to say, oh, I should be able to take attendance. Wow, it's very easy to say. But what is the first thing I want the users to see when they come to the app? What are the informations I want them to first digest, before they proceed to taking attendance? Those are the things I start thinking about. And of course, where do I position the button in such a way that it's easier for anybody to come into the app and click on attendance, and it takes them to the attendance page where they fill in all of the informations and data they need, then they proceed to the next phase. So UX is beyond just design. So if you want to focus on being a UX designer, don't think of, you think of beauty, you think of the color, but don't let that be the priority when you are designing, when you start your design. Just try to, think more of what you want your end users to achieve. All right, that being said, let's move to the UI part. Okay, now this is a mistake. So I'm talking about UI, not UX. Sorry about that. So a user interface designer craft the visual and interactive aspect of the digital product, focusing on aesthetics like color, layout, typography, as well as the response to users' actions on elements like button and options. Now, this definition is so wild, but if I'm to break it down, right? When we talk about the layout, for you to be a very good layout designer, for you to have a good layout, one of the things that was going to help you, one of the things that will help you is that you should familiarize yourself with looking at good designs, like going to Pinterest, Behance.net, Dribble. These are places where you see designers work and you can easily learn layout from there. That is how to learn layout basically, right? And of course, aesthetics generally, that's how to learn. You look at other people's work and you can easily, just imitate what they've done and tweak one or two things and can get your own things. Typography can be a little bit hard. I've been a graphic designer for years, and I remember that most times when I'm designing for magazine, typography is always like the hard part for me, right? Because for you to pick a particular typeface, that works with a particular product, you need to do a lot of research. One, because at times some typeface are the point 12, the size 12 of a particular font can be a little bit bigger than the 12 of another font. Yeah, so as a designer, you need to understand which one looks bigger, which one looks smaller, which typeface, have families. For example, Roboto have different families. We have the light, the thick. You understand all of those things you need to understand as a UI designer when you are designing. And of course, when you are designing as a UI designer, please always stick with minimum of one font. Just pick one font, that have different typefaces, and make use of it. Don't jump from one font to another. Don't try to say, okay, I want to make this particular app look beautiful. Then you combine multiple fonts together. It's not advisable, of course, to do that. And of course, it's even advisable when it comes to color that you use, there is, you can use a monocolor. A monocolor, what do I mean by that? Is that you can pick a particular color, then have a variance of that color. So if I pick red, then I can have variants of red, to use for it. I'm going to show us one or two ways of doing that, towards the end of our classes, so at least we understand every single thing I'm talking about. Before I proceed, I'd like to just ask one or two questions. I don't want to talk too much. I know presentations, talking can be a little bit like, oh, what is the next physics kind of a thing that this guy is going to talk to us about? So let me just come here and stop sharing for now. All right, let me stop sharing for now. And does anybody have anything to say? Let me just make that. So who can just tell us one or two things you've learned so far? Mr. Demola, can you make it for people to be able to talk?
Yeah, so basically, someone has to indicate in this live session that we're going to make the person a speaker. So does anybody want to highlight what you've learned today in today's session? Anybody, please just drop a comment on the chat session and we're going to make you a speaker. What have you learned so far in the area of product design for those that are watching this live session live? Anybody, before we go into the practical session? Does anybody want to say something, please? Usually people always camera shy. So just drop something in the comment section and we're going to make you a speaker. Don't worry, you don't have to put on your camera. Anybody?
Okay, so let's just proceed. Let's proceed.
All right.
Okay. So let me keep sharing. Share. So I'm trying to just do Windows, but it's not giving it that. So let me do share. So okay, right. Let me just move to the next one. So what are the key tasks and responsibilities of a product designer? Okay, so as a product designer, it's your job to come up with a new idea, a novel approach that will help your product to stand out. You start by conducting market research, right? Now, this market research is the same thing as competitors' analysis. You're trying to go out there and look for those who have similar products, those who have done something similar to your product, right? And you want to see who are their audience, how do they penetrate the marketplace, you understand? Then you need to do that kind of research because it's going to help you when you are developing your product. Now, then focusing on your main competitors also and their product. Now, if you notice, when you are conducting, we have market research and you are focusing on main. Now, there is a statement that the main competitors, there's an adjective before the competitor, right? Main competitors. So there are sometimes you have some competitors that are not your main competitor. They are more like, okay, for example, I'm trying to look for a particular app right now. So also generally, sometimes you want to design a product and what you want to push out there. Okay, for example, the product I'm working on currently, the church app. So we have to take attendance, right? The major problem we want to solve is to solve the problem of attendance, right? But at the end, we can decide to say, okay, apart from solving attendance problem, we can decide to have a live section where people attend church services. Is not church services on the app is not the major stuff, right? The major stuff is that we want people to take attendance. So when I'm doing market research on it, I'll look for people or applications that are focusing on attendance also. Those who are focusing on attendance and how to take attendance, how to give report of your attendance, those are the major competitors we have. Meanwhile, other people who have implemented something like watching live stream and some other stuff, we call them also like competitors, but they are not the major competitors because they've drifted a little bit away from what we are focusing on. So we can't classify them as our major competitors. We get major competitors if what we are doing is what they are doing. It's not like a back-to-back kind of a thing. They are doing this and we're also doing that. We have that a lot in the marketplace. So it's going to help you when you are designing. In fact, from them, you can pick your mood board, see the way they arrange their interface, and see how you can make your own interface better. You understand, right? And of course, these are the major things you need to understand. These are your key features or your key tasks as a product designer. Understanding the target market and competitive landscape. You need to understand your target audience, right? If your people are church-based, please don't take your research to outside the church. Make sure you're asking questions from people within the church who are going to use that. If your competitors are within schools, don't take your research, your users' research to a mosque, asking them about it. Please always go to the rightful person to ask the questions. And of course, when you're asking questions at the same time, do your findings about people that have already done similar things. Now, let me tell you one thing. There is no new thing under the sun. Basically, there's no new thing under the sun. Everything we are working on is something someone has actually done somewhere. We are just adding or removing something from it, based on it. Now, I was reading through Child Deck. Child Deck is a food app where you food logistic app, right? The founder was saying that the whole idea came to him where during the COVID-19, and they realized that there's nobody talking about food delivery, and they had to come up with something, right? Before COVID-19, we have some Jumia food. We have the Jumia food already, right? But because they were not functioning the way the founder of Childec really wanted to function, he had to say, okay, we need to focus on this project immediately. So if you look at Jumia's food and look at Childec, you see the differences is that these guys are focusing on food delivery majorly, while Jumia is doing multiple things. So if they're going to classify now, Jumia is going to be part of their competitors, but not main competitor. But Glove is going to be their major competitor, you understand, because they are doing more of similar stuff, you understand. So you need to understand your target market. Now, understand the target users' needs, goals, and pain points. Now, for Childec, right, and the owner, we understand the pain point. Why? Because at that time, he said he was diagnosed of COVID-19 at that time. Then it was in his 14 days of isolation that he realized that nobody, man, even if he's going to survive the COVID-19, I guess hunger is going to kill him and people is going to think it's COVID-19, right? He understood that pain because nobody was coming to his doorstep to, deliver food. So someone like that, if he's creating a product, he can easily relate, you understand? So you as a product designer, sometimes just assume you're in that position where you need this particular product so desperately, and people were supposed to deliver to you, they are not doing it the right way, and you need to do it the right way. You need to do it the right way. So always put yourself in that position. Once you can put yourself in that position, by default, you have empathy, which is one of your greatest tools as a product designer, a UI UX designer. You need to have empathy, being able to think like your end user, and that's the major goal. Now, the third one is that you need to come up with ideas, concepts, either for new product or for product improvement. Now, for new product, it's easier to design. Now, based on my years of experience, I realized that it's easier to design for new product, right? Because it's a new idea. I can look for other mood boards, pick one or two things, and wow, the stakeholders can, when we go for stakeholders meeting, the owners can decide to say, wow, this is nice. I love the way you pick this from there, pick that from there. But for product improvement, wow. Sometimes it can be so frustrating. Why? Because there is something, except that product is so bad, like so bad, like no, the design is very worst. That is when your new design can really go a long way. But when you see something that is of standard and they really want to improve something of standard again, you are doing a lot of work because you at that stage you are no longer doing aesthetics work alone. You are doing more of UX work. You are doing more of easy to access kind of a thing. That's what you are doing when you are improving a product. I want you to keep this at the back of your mind that if you are improving a product, you are focusing less on aesthetics. Why? Because if you ask them, I'm talking about product that is very, that is visually okay, that the aesthetics is good and you want to improve them. What you should do is that you should focus more on the user's journey. Focus more on the user's journey. That's going to help you, achieve more things. You realize that at the end, you are still using the same color. You might still even use the same typeface and the same button. You just rearrange things because if you can prove to the stakeholders that the way you rearrange it makes it easier, for users to navigate through the site, then that's what you're selling. That's an improvement. So usually when we talk about improvement, is what I've seen before. When people give me, for example, their website, I'm into front-end basic also. And someone gives me, I use WordPress Elementor, and someone just give me their website and say, okay, I want something nice, I want something better. And I see a very good aesthetics, especially if I'm not the one that designed it initially. And someone comes to me and I feel like I need something better. Two things they are requesting for actually. They are requesting for indirect, whether you like it or not, as a product designer, you need want to interpret that. Someone like me, once you come to me and you tell me you need something better, the first thing I think of is, oh, you need something users can relate more with. That's the first thing. And secondly is that, oh, is there a way it can look more beautiful? Now remember, take note of it. I'm not talking about beauty first for a product that is very nice. I'm not talking about beauty first. I'm talking about functionality. So let's keep this in mind. It's very tricky. If you don't really have strong understanding of it, you might mix it, and you won't be able to really achieve. And another thing is that you should be able to be good at your communication with your stakeholders, because that's another thing that sells, right? Because sometimes after you finish your arrangement as using the approach of a UX designer, some stakeholders are not satisfied yet. But if you can really push it. So for example, let's look at the MTN logo, the new MTN logo compared to the former one. A lot of people, there was a lot of criticism at the time it came out, especially from the Ace Creative group. A lot of people were saying the logo is too simple, so the logo is not okay. But let me tell you one thing. One of the things is that the designers, they were able to sell it. So you should also be able to sell yourself. Sometimes when they come with, oh, I want you to do something better, sincerely, sometimes what customers are saying is, I want you to explain to us better. Just with the arrange and explain to us. And once you can convince the major stakeholders, man, once you can convince the major stakeholders, then you sell, of course. So let's move to the next one. Determine whether product idea and concept are desirable, visible, and viable. So there's what we call MVP, which is minimum viable product, right? That's like the first set, the first batch of your product that you move out there. So you as a product designer, another thing you want to do is that you are determining whether a product ideas and concept are desirable, they are visible. So is that, are they beautiful? Do end users really want it? Is it visible? Is it a product that when we push it out there, people really want to make use of it? You understand? And of course, variable in the sense that they can users really pay for this stuff, or make use of it and tell you, okay, yeah, it's solving my problem to some extent. Of course, we've tried it before you now start building more of it, and that's why MVP is another aspect in product design that we most times focus on. So when you're designing a product, there's what we call product life cycle. This is a term by product managers. So what they do is that if we have like 10 features for a particular product, what we do is that we push out one features first. Let's have a team of 10,000 people. As many as the team might be, you still focus on one product per time. So you focus on one feature, per time. So once we push out the first features, right, and it sells, then we can say, okay, add more things. And that's why you see something like 2.1, 2.2 of a particular product, most times is because whenever any product is coming out, they are not coming out with everything they have in mind. They are coming out with something, visible first, something sellable. Let's use that statement, something that the end user can actually buy first. Then when they realize that, oh, people are buying it, then we can add more things to it. So the next thing you need to do as a product designer is designing and testing new products or features, ensuring that they are functional, accessible, and aesthetically pleasing. Of course, I've explained that aspect over and over again, so I'm not going to do a lot of explanation again. And of course, collaboration closely. So you need to collaborate with product managers. You need to collaborate with product managers a lot. I know product managers can be annoying because I've seen the product managers even in design works. You go to agencies, you see, and product manager for them, they are the art directors sometimes, right? Not like product manager like that. You have the art directors, and sometimes you as a designer, the graphic artist, the junior graphic artist, you have a particular idea in your head, and you feel like, because, okay, some of us are attending Rebel's class, and because you learn new things from Rebel's class, you want to implement it on your design, and you see your art director telling you, no, just make this thing simple, straightforward, and we push it out there. Sometimes I look at some billboard of Glow and some other set of people, and I see that there's been a lot of actions being but it's selling. The single use of one image or the other, just sells the product. But if you give it to a junior designer that is learning how to manipulate background, you are going to see that there's going to be a lot of activities in the design. And that's why you, as a product designer, sometimes you need a product manager. So, you need a product manager that you can actually work along with. Sometimes you are looking at the product from a very hard angle, and your product manager is just looking at it from very simple, and you need back and forth, communication, collaboration. Product manager, your developer, you need to do a lot of talking. You need to collaborate closely with them. That's going to help you your journey as product designer. Now, the important tools and skills for product designer, which we should not forget, is that product designer requires a diverse mix of hard and soft skills. Now, soft skills like your communication, hard skills more like you focusing on your tool and understanding the everything requiring your tool to make your product for designing it. And of course, product designers, you as well be proficient in specific tool. So please, as a product designer, you have to pick one or two tools that you need to be very solid at. Now, a lot of people are going for Figma, which is what people are going for, and a lot of companies requires that you use Figma. So if you're learning your Figma, learn Figma to the state that even if you leave Figma for by mistake for 6 months and you come back, you can easily pick up. I'm just saying that's how good you should learn your tools, right, very well. In as much as your journey as a product designer does not really rely on your tools alone, but at the same time, you need to be very good at your tool, that you are using for your product. Now, so other things is that you need collaboration, communication, empathy, research skills, problem-solving skills, and some other stuff. I'm hearing some bells. Is there a question? Do anybody want to talk? So I'll be able to allow you to say something. If you have a question, we are getting to the end of the presentation. If you have a question, you can come up with that. Now, thorough knowledge of users' experience and user interface design concepts, such as design thinking, information architecture, interaction design, and responsive design. These are other tools and skills that you need as a designer. These are the tools and skills you need as a designer, right? And these things, information architecture, basically, what is it? It's just, it's more like an algorithm, a breakdown of how you want your interface to look like. What are the things that will come first? What is going to come as second? What is going to come next? Information architecture helps you do that breakdown. That's very good. And of course, interaction design, which is major work of a UX designer, is the animation in an app. How do we transit from point A to B, from screen A to screen B, from frame A to frame B, like that. What are the journey that is going to take? And of course, responsive design, right? You need to understand responsive design. And how do you understand responsive design? You need to talk a lot with your developers, because product in our generation is mobile first. Let me repeat that. Product in our time now is mobile first. Most of the things you'll be developing, let's say 85% of people want to access that thing first on their mobile phone. Why? Because almost everybody is always on their phone 24/7, and most of the things you'll be developing needs to be responsive, and a lot of people will be going through your product firstly from their phone before they even go to their system. Hope you know that the likes of your banking apps too, you can access them from your system. But when was the last time you accessed your banking app from your system? Almost all your transactions, except for those who are using companies' accounts, doing like major transactions using tokens. Those are people. But for day-to-day transactions, all of the things you are doing is on your phone. So whatsoever you are designing should be mobile responsive. Right? Okay. So hands-on design. Sorry, I'm being distracted here with let me put that. Okay. Hands-on design skills such as wireframing, prototyping, as well as knowledge of different. So we'll be doing little one or two of these, in our class today, and that's why I'm kind of rushing, trying to push through the presentation so we can move to our hands-on practical class, of course. So let me just talk about this last phase. This is what I'm going to do. The presentation, I think I'm going to share it alongside with the video. Hopefully that is possible, so at least we can have a look also. Or I'm going to share link now. So let me just put out this disclaimer also. Yeah, most of the things you are seeing here, those are professional write-ups from Career Foundries and Interaction Design. These are platforms where they take UI UX courses, and I pick most of my materials that I'm using currently from there. So I'm going to share their link with you guys so that I can read up, because as a product designer, one of the things we do a lot is that we are going to do a lot of reading. Sincerely, we're going to do a lot of reading, right? So I'm going to share the links alongside with the video when we are sharing video with, also at least you can catch up with the presentation part of it. So these are the basics of design thinking. We have the empathy stage, we have the divine, we have the ideate, prototype, test. Then after test, we have implementation. But usually we see a lot of people showing you 5 stages. These are the 5 stages. But we have the last part, which is the implementation part. But these are the phases you need to go through. The empathize stage, this is where you think more like your end user. You see the two phases fusing into each other. It's telling you that you as a designer, you are trying to think like your end user. You are trying to think like the end user, and this is how you feel their pain and can come up with ideas for them. Then you can divine, then ideate, right? Oh, okay. So before I go, we in this creative, right, for every of our students, we have this, we have the UX template that is a template for real life project. This is a template that I use myself for every of my project, and every of our students have access to this particular template, right? For every of your project, it works for every digital product, even if you are not doing a digital product. This template works for you. This is a professional crafted template I've been using for years, like for 2-3 years now, right? I had to go for a professional class also to have it. So for once you come to our class, I give it out to you, and of course you can make use of it for any of your products or that you want to work on. But these are the processes that template follow: the empathy stage, the define the ideas, the prototype, and the test. These are the phases the template follows, and of course, where you get to understand the sketch part, the research part, and some one or other things you need to do, right? Divine. This is where you divine. This is where you divine this. After you've listened to the problem, this is where you divine solution. It's more like a stage where you break down the algorithm, 1, 2, or 3 steps that you really want to follow. Then the ideate stage is where you now start coming up with the things, solutions to the breakdown that you have. Then the prototype stage, this is where you've started designing. Sometimes it's not full design. So we have low fidelity, we have high fidelity wireframe. So you do your low fidelity wireframe, and of course you do prototype. You see how you move from point A to B. And of course you can use your low fidelity wireframe to also do testing. So at least you understand the process for your product from the beginning of the task to the end of it, the design thinking part. Now let's design, right? I can't wait to move into the stage. So let's design. But before we start designing, let me just go back to, let me stop sharing and let's talk, about 1 or 2 things. I think we have like just a few minutes left for us to just design, right? So Mr. Demola, we can talk about designing. So one of the things I love to do is that I would like to share the design side with everybody in this room. But I'm not sure we are with our system. So the way I want it to work is it's a simple design. I just want to take us through processes I use. Again, it's a simple design. I want to take us through processes. So as I'm designing, you're also designing. But what we'll do is this: we are going to be having some other classes. It's going to be more like a 1-hour session. I'm going to discuss with Mr. Demola first, where everybody is going to class and we are all in our feedback. So I'm going to open the feedback. Everybody is going to be there. We are all going to simultaneously together.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So we all be designing together. That's my idea. This is that we should all design together. Right? Okay. So but before I move into the design part, is there any questions so far?
All right, so if you have any question, please can you drop it on the chat section based on what you've learned so far in the presentation that Mr. Elijah just gave with respect to product design. All right. So I think everybody fully grabbed what they were taught. Those are in the live session. All right.
Okay, so let's go into our design part and see what we can come up with before we call it a day. Okay, all right. Okay, if you look at these, I want to believe you can see my screen, right? This is one of the ideas I sketch. This
Yes,
is
we
one of
can.
the ideas. Yeah. So this is one of the ideas I sketch, for the product I'm working on currently. So this is just like the first idea that came to my mind before I came up with the other ones. So I think we should just play around with this. Now, after the whole research and stakeholders meeting, right, and understanding what it takes and where we are going, I took up my pencil, took up my notepad, took up my jotter, started sketching and like coming up with different sketch. Right? Another way you can do this is using your Fig Jam. Is using your Fig Jam. Now this is Figma, right? If you come to your home page, now you get to see your interface looking like this, right? And of course, the top part of it, you can click on Fig Jam and it takes you to Fig Jam. This Fig Jam is a stage where you come up with your the whole aesthetics of a team. The sketching, the users, manual users, whatsoever you want to do relating to UX. You understand your Fig Jam and do that for you, right? Handles that for you. And of course, another thing I forgot to talk about in the presentation, which I didn't include, is that learn how to leverage on AI. This is a generation where almost everything, you know, is getting more simpler, right? If you're learning the basics, it looks hard, but the moment you skip past the basic stage, try to know one or two AI that you can leverage on, to do one or two things. Now, with this AI, if I just type in that I need one or two things, it's going to help me draft, what I need in such a way. So let's say um an app that helps with saving money. So it's just a simple stuff, and I say generate stuff. So wait for it. Now you see this, right? So this is an AI that is helping me do some of the faces of my um, 5 design thinking phase steps, right? The empathy, the ideate, and all of those. Now, by default, I should be doing this by myself, right? But with AI, it's going to help you generate something at least that you can leverage on, to do. Now, you see, brainstorm and identify the challenges and pinpoints. This is when you identify challenges. These are also steps. Now, if you look at this very well, it's talking about debt loan, unpredictable income, lack of financial literacy. These are the things you can, by default, that you as a person, you might still be thinking, what are the ideas that should come to my mind? How do I go about this? Right? The AI is going to help you generate it, and from there you can pick up and also, leverage on it. And it's giving us key features and benefits: auto saving, goal tracking, expense tracking. Check your PiggyVest app, check your Cowrywise, check most of the fintech app. These are the features also that you see in them, right? And how do I get this? We have users testimonial and some other basic stuff like that. Now, let's just learn how to leverage on AI, just to make our work more efficient and faster, right? So, but this is FigJam. This is all we do in FigJam, where we come up with sketch and some other stuff like that. This is the pencil, where you can use this pencil, to sketch one or two. I'm not going to be leveraging on or teaching much on FigJam. I'm just going to be doing more on Figma. I'm just trying to show us what we can do here. Just can just come up with ideas that you have in your mind, like that, like that, like that, like that. and till you are done. Right? This is what we can do on your FigJam, right? Breakdowns of your UX journey. So let's go back to my Figma interface. So Figma is different, of course. Figma is different. On Figma, we have Canva where you can work on. Now, this is my own sketch, my pencil sketch, which I want to implement in my design. So I'm going to jump on to my design, right? The first thing I need, because it's a mobile app, the first thing I need to do is click on my frame, right? Click on my frame. Now, in your Figma interface, let me just introduce us basically to our Figma interface. When you look to the top section, you see the menu icon. There is another icon beside it, the move to. Then whenever you see a drop down icon and you click on it, it shows that there are other icons in that, right? So we have the move and we have the scale. Now, scale helps you to increase or reduce object without losing the shape of the object, right? So I use it more for icons and vector-based objects, so I won't be able to lose the shape. So then the next tool you are going to see is a frame. Now, frame is the Canva, the work area that you'll be working on. So if I click on frame, you look to your right side here. In your right side, you see frames. We have frames for phone, tablet, desktop, presentation, and all, right? So if I'm working with phone, I'll click on phone. Then I'm going to advise, if you're working on mobile, always go with 375 width by any height. And there's only 2 frames with that. We have iPhone 13 and iPhone 8, so I can click on any of it, right? As a beginner, I just wanted to stick with that. Now, because over time it has been proven and tested that this particular width works on all interface, that you might want to, whether your latest iPhone 15, your old iPhone, whatsoever it is. Now, this particular width will work well for your design, right? At least till today, as I'm speaking, it's still working. Maybe tomorrow it won't work again. At least I'll get to update you. But for now, this still works for your mobile app, development. So when we look at this, what is it that we want to achieve? We want to convert our sketch to something more reasonable, something that users can work with. Now, when you look at this, the top section, you notice that there is a card here. There is a card at the top section. We have we have the member card, we have the children, and you notice that there are some other cards that are hidden. So how do we create an interaction in that area? Because one of the things you need to achieve there is how to make your card to, slide through your card. When you flip on it from your left to right, it shows the hidden card. Then if you move back, it hides the other card. And when you look at this also, when you look at the quick link, you notice that we have adult attendance, children attendance. There are other informations at down part. How do we perform an interaction, on it in such a way that we can scroll up to see other features hidden? So these are the major things that we're talking about today. I may not be able to jump into the side menu, but let's play around with this. And with that, I'm going to be talking basically about components, auto layout, basically talk about auto layout and component, just for us to understand one or two things. Right. Now, the first thing, let me just teach us how to set up your interface. There's what we call grid system. There's what we call grid system, right? There's what we call grid system. And what is grid in itself? It's just a way for you to guide your work from left to right, so that you will not, design outside the scope of what you are doing. So for you to do that, there's what we call colon. We need to make use of our colon base. What's it called? So I'm going to select my interface, my frame. I'll select my frame and I'll go to my right side and I'll look for layout grid. I'll look for layout grid. Then in my layout grid, when you look at this, under it, there is this icon which I'll click on, and I'll change from grid to colon. Then from there, I'm going to be using 8 grid system. I'm going to be using 8. Then, of course, when you are designing, you need spacing at the left and right of your application. Spacing at the left and right of your application, and even at the top section. This is how I set mine. This is how I set mine. You select your frame again, go back to your layout grid, then your margin. Now, for sometimes now, 24 has been like a standard for your margin, left and right of it. And usually I do middle gutter of 10. For my app, this is what I do most times. This settings works for me, especially when it comes to mobile app, right? Then the next thing I do is that I bring out my ruler from my side. If you drag from left, you can drag out your ruler just to have a guide, then have your ruler to the other side. If you click on it and you disable this by clicking on this eye icon, you'll be able to still have your ruler. So you have a guide to the left and right. So you know that whatsoever you are designing, especially text, is not going outside that ruler. You get. So what I do also, I also set for the top section. So I'm going to make this visible again. Right? So what I do usually is that I create a small box and I make the width 24 because that's what the standard I'm working with, and I make the height also 24. Then I align it to the top and to the left section. So if I change this to black so it's more visible, and I zoom out, so you notice that the ruler is not even at the edge yet, so it's very close. Then I do bring out the other ruler at the top, right, down, just to set the guide for that top. Then for the down part, I don't do that for the down part because usually in your app, your content might extend more than the screen you have. These are cases where you have to scroll down. So you can keep extending your screen down, but the left and right is always fixed. But your top and bottom, the height can always increase. Now, if I should disable the layout grid, you have something like this. So you've set your margin top and left and right. These are the things these are basics you should know how to set in your Figma area when you want to design. So what I'm saying basically is that none of my design is going outside the scope. Now, if you open any of your app, you notice that content never gets to the edge. And it's a normal standard for both mobile and web applications, right, if you're working on. Then the next thing I'm going to do is, now this is very straightforward. This is why sketching is very good. Now, because I've sketched already, I know what to do. I'm not thinking or I'm not looking for things around. I know what to do. Now, what I need is to the left, I need a burger menu, and to my right, I need a profile icon, to my right side. So how do I get it? Now, from this thing, now I'm going to introduce us to this section here in our Figma. Now, on every of our Figma, if you count from your left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 7th icon, this is where you get what I'm about to do. The 7th icon, which is a combination of your component, plugins, and widgets. That is where you get what I'm doing. So I'm going to go to my plugins, and I'm going to look for a particular plugin called Iconify. So I have Iconify. Iconify happens to be like a standard icon-based plugin. So what I'll look for is I'll look for menu. I can either look for menu or look for burger. Either of the two will work. So you can either search for menu or burger. Any of the two works, but then you pick anyone you want, then you place it there. So now this is very big. This is very big, right? Now to reduce this, you can press K on your keyboard. You can press K on your keyboard, or you go to your first tool here where we have the move. You select your scale and you scale it down. You can scale it down. You can scale it down. Then another thing I do usually is that most of your icons, in fact, all of your icons, if you check to your left, you notice that it's going to give you structure of whatsoever you clicked on. So I have like a frame, then I have the vector itself. So what I do usually is that once I select any icon, I press Enter key on my keyboard to select the icon in itself, and I drag it out of that bigger box. Now, initially I didn't really understand this initially until I started designing, and I realized that sometimes when you want to input or you want to work with component or auto layout, this extra box I just took out of the whole thing sometimes can cause some unnecessary difficulties. So it's always good that you are interacting with the vector itself, not the box around it, right? Not the box around it. Now, if you want to do a box around it yourself, just do Shift A, give it auto layout again, then you can give the spacing the way you want, right, around it. I can do my left and right of 50, and I do my top and bottom of 50 for that also, to also have something like that, right? But usually what I do is I don't need this for now, so I'll do my Ctrl Z. It works everywhere like magic. Then I'll reduce it by pressing K on my keyboard. I'll reduce this, right, and I'll place it at this edge. Place it at this edge because that's what I want. I can move it down a little, right? Now, with doing this, I'm going to okay, so I want us to all search for this particular software in if you're using Windows, sorry, if you're using Android or what's it called, iPhone, just search for Figma Mirror. Just search for Figma Mirror. This is a prototyping tool, right? This is a prototyping tool for. So what I do usually is that when I'm designing on mobile, I instantly, do the testing on my phone using this Figma Mirror. So I know where to do my positioning better. I know if my font is not that big, and I should increase it, even though there are standards, you understand? So when I was just starting, I leveraged so much on Figma Mirror. And you see a lot of it if you're going scrolling through your, if you follow a lot of product designers in your Instagram page or LinkedIn, you see a lot of them doing it, their system at the background and they are prototyping on the phone. So Figma Mirror is used for that prototyping. That's what they use for the prototyping. So whatever you are doing on phone, right, it displays on your phone and you see how it's going to look more, basically. Okay, Mr. Demola, I think I should, let me stop sharing. I think we should move the practical section to next, right? The reason I'm saying that, so that at least those who come in, you get their already.
Okay.
Instead of the old one will be pause on it. I think this will work best, right?
All right. Okay.
And I won't be able to cover a lot of things I really want to cover. So next week okay, everyone? Let's just do 1 hour next week and cover the basic sketch I have here.
All right. So Mr. Elijah is saying that we should have a session next week. That's on the 4th of May 2024. So please, let's make it a date, same time by 5 o'clock. That will really make a difference. So what we want to achieve.
Please just make sure your Figma is ready. I'm going to be sharing the access to the file with everybody. So we are working together live. Instantly, we are working live together on the project.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so very much, Mr. Elijah, for your amazing session. Now, we could have had the session right now, but because of time, we're going to be stopping the practical session. So please, by 5 p.m. GMT +1 or West African time, we are going to be having the part 2 of this class, which is going to be a more 100% practical than what we've had, where you're going to get your hands dirty with one of the product design software, that's Figma. We also have other product design softwares like InVision that you can use, and I think Sketch. But Figma is one of the most popular product design software, UI UX software that is being used in Africa. So once you can get practicalize it, you will be able to learn more. Now, if you want to learn more from Mr. Elijah with respect to understanding more in context with product design, there's a course that we offer at the Academy. Visit www.acecreativeacademy.com. That is www.acecreativeacademy.com, where Mr. Elijah is going to be taking a full course on product design. He's also the facilitator that handles the UI UX program. So join him. Our new session is going to be starting on the 3rd of June, 2024, and we are looking forward to teaching you an in-depth, more practical session on product design. And the course we're going to be having next week, obviously, despite the fact that it's going to be practical, you want to have a full course on training with him, go to acecreativeacademy.com and you see our courses to enroll, or just register to book a seat. All right. Thank you so very much, everybody, once again for attending. Mr. Elijah, do you have any final words for the people attending this meeting or this session live? Hello, Mr. Elijah, do you have any final words? All right, I guess Mr. Elijah is probably wrapping up. Probably has technical issues connecting, or he's probably sorting out some things with the slide. All right, okay. Thank you so very much once again, everybody, for joining. We really appreciate your time. Like I always say, time is a universal currency that we all have, and irrespective of the fact that this particular session is free, you have been able to create time, which is a universal currency that is what's unquantifiable. So thank you so very much for your time. I really appreciate it. This session is going to be uploaded on YouTube so that we can watch over and over again to understand the basic of product design. Don't forget to join us same time next week. That's by 5 p.m. West African time, where Mr. Elijah Abraham is going to is going to take us through what we call a practical one-on-one session on how to use Figma, which is the product design software that is being used for digital product design, especially in designing what users interface. So please join us once again next week by 5 p.m. Looking forward to seeing you there. And thank you so much, everybody, for attending once again. Like I always say, keep acing it in all you do, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for joining once again, and do have an amazing weekend. Do have an amazing weekend and an awesome week ahead. See you on the next one. Cheers.